Hey guys, how's it going? So I want to thank everybody for all the well wishes for the surgery I went through Wednesday. Today's actually Friday. As you can see, I'm still pretty swelled up. I can't open my mouth fully. Probably a good thing though. But yeah, everything went sort of according to plan, not exactly, but everything's done. And basically, I gotta recover from this, so it'll be a little bit. So I was off yesterday. Came in for a couple hours today. Just going to do some diagnostics for the shop. And that's about it. So what do I have now? I don't even know. Actually, it's a GMC Jimmy. It's a 4-door. Looks to be a 2000. I don't know. I got my scanner hooked up. I don't have the new scanner I got. My new scanner is actually at home. I forgot to bring it with me. I have my Snap-on with me. So let's see if we can't figure out what's going on here. All right. So here we are. We're hooked up. And let's see, this is a Chevrolet. Actually, I'm not quite sure of the year, so let's do this. I'm kind of too lazy to look. Let's go to 2001. Sometimes it'll actually tell you what year it actually is once you do this. Let's go to automatic ID. And the vehicle year is a 2003. Okay, so now I could just back out and go to 2003. Now, this thing has a check engine light. That's the reason that it's here. All right, so mass airflow circuit out of range and EVAP vent control. Okay, so mass airflow out of range. Common failure with that is the mass air meter gets dirty. And vent control, normally it's just a vent control. That's the vent solenoid underneath that's near the gas tank. So let's do this. Let's look to see if it tells me anything with PO 101. Probably going to say mass air sensor, yeah. But I'm going to think it just has to be cleaned. Because they didn't give a complaint about how it was running. And vent control, yeah. Normally, every single time I've ever seen that code, it's usually just a vent solenoid. So let me look into the codes first before I go any further, and then we're going to go from there. Now, one thing I should have showed you over here, if you back out of powertrain codes, this is one thing nice that GM does. Freeze frame failure records. Okay, come on. All right, so EVAP vent control problem. Nope, it's not going to tell me that. Now what am I missing here? Freeze frame failure records. So now this is me actually not reading that correctly. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. All right, mileage since first failure, 211 miles. Mileage since last failure, 211 miles. Okay. So that's a common issue. Actually, it'd be really common if it showed every single time you started it. Mass airflow, circuit out of range. $292 and $293. So that's between the first failure and the last failure. Now, the reason that that's good, too, is if you're hunting down an intermittent problem, you can go there and you can look like how long does it take to set that code. So obviously this one took 70 miles or something to happen. The other one, there's no mileage difference in between. So the other one I can actuate relatively easy. Fail counters 2, PS counters 5, not run counters 39. But here it tells you like engine speed, what desired idle, what the coolant temperature was, what the startup coolant temperature was, So that tells me it was a cold start, 57 degrees. Throttle position was at 37%. Barometric pressure, barometric voltage, map, mass airflow. Short-term fuel trim is pulling a lot of fuel away on both banks. So it gives you a lot of vital information that you can use when you're trying to, go after an intermittent problem or kind of like a sticky problem where you're having an issue trying to figure it out. So, all right, just wanted to show you that. So one thing I'm noticing here is while I'm idling, mass airflow is reading 5.39, 5.33, 5.24 grams per second, which if you read here in the data for what you're actually checking, which is the mass air meter, it tells you it should be 4 to 8 grams per second. If you think about it, you got a 4.3 liter, should be 4.3, 5.3, something in that range. If you had 3.8, you should be like 3.8, 4.8, something in that range. So obviously this is way out of whack. So I'm going to try cleaning it first and see if it changes anything. I took the mass air meter out, and it doesn't look terrible, but I'm going to clean it off anyway. I got a funny feeling it's no good. But I'm going to clean it off anyway just to see if anything changes. But if you see there's an arrow there, the arrow points in the direction of, hey, this has to go from the air cleaner over there. So let me clean this real quick and see what happens. Basically, I can't film this right at the moment, but basically I'm just going to take that and I'm going to spray this out. Actually, I could show you real quick right here. And then I'm going to go from both sides. I showed you this before. I want to see if it changes anything in the reading. This side's a little more difficult. So don't hit this with compressed air. Don't rub it with a brush, anything like that. Just spray it and be done. All right, let's put this all back together, see if it changes anything. All right, so I did all of that with the key on. I forgot to turn the key off, so I probably induced some codes. Let me see if this changed anything, just out of curiosity. It came down a little bit, but it's still not right. It's still way off whack. I'm pretty sure I have a good used one out in our yard somewhere. So let me go grab that and see what happens. And while I'm at it, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actuate. Oh, the belt is making an awful lot of noise on this thing. Alright. See, it goes to 0. We're pretty darn close to it, so I'm okay with that number. I'm fine with that. Let's see. One thing I wanted to do real quick. Let me go back. Functional tests. Output controls. Vent solenoid. Alright, so up there, okay, I just heard it clunk. Can you hear it? You hear that? Now, anytime I've been addressed with a problem like this where I can actually physically hear it, I will usually wind up cycling that particular solenoid multiple times. And eventually you'll hear it, it'll actually stop working. Because what happens is the solenoid itself goes bad over a period of time. So the solenoid, which is a valve in there, which opens and closes to allow venting of the EVAP system, eventually it gets stuck. It stops doing something. So I'm going to keep doing that for a while to see if it changes anything. One thing I didn't think about was I could do a purge seal on this. So let me start this up. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So we go to the scanner, purge seal. And what we're going to do now is, see the fuel tank pressure sensor showing 5.91, showing voltage at 0.2 over here. So what I could do is I can actually seal the system, and it should show me a change there. So you can actually hear the idle changing. So now I'm going to hit seal, and supposedly it sealed it, but there was no change here. So I know that the purge solenoid is working up front. I'm going to take off the seal again. Wait a minute, actually I forgot how I got to do this. Back up. See, now the idle's actually getting wonky because it's got a major vacuum leak because of the purge solenoid. So I'm going to hit seal, but nothing is changing as far as the tank pressure sensor is going. So either I have a wide open vent solenoid, which you can hear clicking, but it's wide open, or who the heck knows? I could have bad pressure sensor on the tank. Let's put this up in the air and let's investigate a little further. So I'm underneath it. I got the vent solenoid disconnected, and I actually have the purge seal actuated. So right now I should have vacuum here. I have nothing. I have no vacuum at all. So I have it set to like 30%, but I have absolutely no vacuum. So where is the vacuum disappearing? I'm going to have to figure that out. So there's the vacuum source to the canister. And I have that little socket in there because I didn't have a piece of tubing that was the right size, but it fit pretty good into the seal. So as you can see, I have vacuum. So I have a leak somewhere. It's funny that it's not showing up as a leak because it must be a major leak. So let's just pop this out. I'm going to hook that back up. But now, like I said, I have nothing here. So I'm pretty confident. Let me disconnect this side. I disconnect this side and then I have vacuum here, then I know I have a major leak. Alright, so I got that line disconnected. I'm going to plug this end with my finger. I actually have the vent solenoid sealed with the scanner. So right now it's got vacuum going to it and it's sealed. So it should build up vacuum, and let's see. It is. So that tells me I have a leak in the system somewhere. So we're probably going to have to, sorry about that, probably going to have to drop the tank to figure out what's going on and where it is, where the issue is. Alright, so that's going to end this video here. I'm not going to bother pulling the tank down today, that's for sure. I'm not in any mood for any of that. It's still, still recovering. So, but yeah, we know we have a leak, some kind of a leak, some kind of a vapor leak there somewhere. If I had my smoke machine here, I could have tested it and showed you that. It's just weird that it's not setting a leak code. But I've seen weirder things. One might take precedent over the other. That's why it's doing that. Because it's not seeing any change, because it might be such a major leak that, it just, and it doesn't see any kind of a change, that they figured it's got to be something wrong with the sensor or the vent control. So anyway, all right, that's it. So hopefully you're getting something out of my videos. If you are, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching. Almost forgot. Put the other mass air meter in from the one out in the yard, and that's where I wound up. 5.3, which is better than before. I don't know why the picture is so blurry, but it is. Oh well. Alright, so that's a much better number than it was before, so I'm happy with that. So that should straighten out that issue. Almost forgot to show you, but there it is.